What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hobby Hotline, episode 382, here on April, the second Saturday in April, I believe. I'm here with Lauren and Alex. We are going to be covering a lot about the industry conference, the TOPS industry conference that happened this past week. And I know, Alex, you were actually at the industry conference, so I want to, sorry, let me kick to Lauren first. I'll ask her, Lauren, how you doing? How's your week been? And then we'll kick to Alex after that.
Good week, exciting week, interesting week. Looking forward to this conversation. It's a lot to talk about and dig into.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, you were at the industry conference. I saw a bunch of your videos, doing a great job covering that from a media perspective. Let the audience know like what your experience was like. How did it go? Anything that maybe didn't hit the news cycle that you heard about that you want to do an exclusive here on Hobby Hotline. But yeah, how was it all?
Well, Adam, good morning. And first off, before I start, no one ever really ask the host, like, how are you doing? How was your week?
Yeah, week was good. Just been, crushing videos. I was gonna say busting out videos. That's in pause, but doing videos every day, trying to do as many as I can here. But yeah, week's been good. I mean, Masters week, that's always exciting. I'm excited to take a nap and kind of fall asleep.
I got it on in the background right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to take a nap on Sunday and fall asleep with that in the background. But yeah, other than that, I mean, everything's good. Thanks for jumping in there.
No problem. Yeah, so I just want to make sure everyone's fully aware. Like, everyone knows the industry conference is for direct accounts, right? With TOPS direct accounts. This year's the first year that Fanatics brought out a few content creators, influencers to help, put out stuff on social media. They kind of are starting to understand, like, all the shops are going to do it already. And soon as the stuff's on the stage, and displayed, and they've announced it, like, it's out in universe. So they're like, let's bring a few friends of Fanatics out, and maybe they'll do the same thing through their network and everything else. So a few of us were invited, and I want to make sure everyone's fully aware. I was not paid to go out. They did not pay my way, nothing. I had to pay the whole thing. And for me, it was one of those instances where it's great information right off the bat, and also it's great networking, seeing all the shop owners and everybody else, that was there. So myself, Neo Cards and Comics, these are accounts that you can go on YouTube, you can go on Instagram, you can go everywhere their socials are and just check out some of their stuff. Kayla Collects was there. Talon was there. Jay Mojo, he was just pumping out stuff left and right, but he has a nice little business going with some interns pumping out stuff for him. So he's got it easy. I was sitting there just going to town with my phone and everything while it was happening. But out in Arizona, out in Glendale, where the Cardinals play in State Farm, which is great for me because the Pat Tillman Memorial is right in front of there. So I got to go back and see that again. So that's always nice. But it was a very, very good conference put on by TOPS. And I'm grateful for the fact that I was able to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looked like, the amount of news, I was actually, I couldn't believe it. I mean, the last couple of years, there's always news that comes out at the industry conference. I think 2 years ago, someone had leaked that Bronny was going to be signing with TOPS, which then probably meant that LeBron was going to be signing with TOPS. And then last year, there were images of the, first TOPS Chrome basketball product that they put in a slide that I don't know if necessarily was supposed to get out, but it did. And then this year, they have WWE because just in the past year, since the last industry conference, they have acquired the licensing rights for not acquired, but started making them for WWE, NFL, and the NBA. So this was probably one of the bigger years. I mean, Lauren, I'll kick it to you with this first question here. What was there any news that you saw that you were excited about or that caught your eye this past week?
Yeah, I mean, there was so much. I mean, I'm a tennis collector. I collect Coco Gauff, so like it was nice to get some updates there. Nothing like really smashing there. Nothing like blowing my mind.
But like no pun intended.
Like that. But yeah, like it was. It's good to get updates. It's good to hear like what direction they're going in and what to look forward to. Any changes, anything that like might kind of tweak how I pursue, my collection. Yeah, I mean, I think, and also, knowing kind of where they've been and where they're going with tennis, that kind of like, it kind of like gets you prepared for what they're doing with the other products. I'm familiar with Graphite. I'm familiar with Royalty. I'm obviously not like an expert, but I'm familiar with it. So I can kind of see like, okay, based on what I know and like about the NBA, what am I going to find, from royalty based on what I know about it from collecting tennis. So that was interesting. And with WWE, I think this is going to be a really big, exciting time for WWE cards. We've been looking forward to the royalty because I believe royalty is where they're going to have the WrestleMania patches, like John Cena's last WrestleMania patch. I believe that's going to be in that product, and that's coming May, I think. And so that's really exciting. It's just kind of it's broadening the scope and the excitement and the fervor, which is fun. So yeah, I think it was cool to kind of see where they're going. I will also say I love seeing like kind of the designs and where they're going with it. My Brian and I are very active on the WWE Slam app, which is a card collecting app, and it's kind of dorky. It's cool because you can kind of see like some of the designs there, and you can see a little bit of it, not always like bar for bar, but you can kind of see the influence between the app and the physical product that they're releasing. So that's also really cool. So I think it's exciting. I think it's a taste of what's to come, and I think that the hobby, I think that's good news. And they can talk about it. We're going to talk about it and criticize it, but it's good. I think it's exciting and fun. So
yeah, I think that obviously you're seeing Topps now with like, this is at least for the next 5-10 years, this is gonna Topps and Fanatics are gonna be running the show here. Like, and so I think the pushback on them, it's really sort of odd. And maybe this is just a one-off comments I've seen here and there, but it's like the quickness that I've seen people completely turn on Fanatics and Topps is pretty interesting. I mean, for a while it was always, Panini stinks. They have no quality control, and I think to an extent that some of that stuff is true, but I think it's more just the louder comments are always the negative ones. So those are people are more likely to leave negative comments than positive comments. But the amount of Topps is flooding the market or Topps is doing this, and it's like they haven't even made half of these products yet either. So it's like I don't even know what people I don't know what people have to complain about so far. In my opinion, all Topps has really done has add more stuff into the hobby since Fanatics took over in 2023. I mean, the debut patches, and now they're going to be making the premier patches, which is actually, a little bit of a segue here into the first topic that we have specifically from the show, is the design of the debut premier patches. Same difference here, but the premier patch design, which is going to be in this first Topps Chrome product, has been revealed. So, Alex, I think you were at these presentations and, you saw some pretty cool stuff that they actually did with the premier patches. So, let the audience know like what that experience was. What was the crowd reaction? How did they feel about these cards?
So I just want to talk about something that was in the comments. Someone asked if I got any free stuff, so also just want to make sure everyone's fully aware, none of the content creators, influencers they invited got any of the free packs or anything else like that. That was for the hobby shops direct accounts that all paid for their, to be there and everything else. So we were there specifically just to push stuff out. They get none of those perks, unfortunately. Trust me, I wish I would have had some. But the premier patch, a lot of people don't know is these premier patches have actually been around for a few years. They just haven't been put in the cards. And I think the NFL actually made these patches 2 or 3 years ago. I have to look that up. But they just didn't have the license, so they haven't been able to use them. And everyone's speculating.
2023, I think.
Yes, everyone's speculating like, were these going to be used? Were these the ones that were going to be due, or were they just for the NFL? They did a really cool thing, I believe, with a little segue into showing it off or whatever. McMillan, the rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year from the Panthers, actually showed up there and signed his on the spot at the conference. He was only there for minutes. They did a nice little skit where Mike Mahan called him, asked him when he's going to be able to sign it, and he was in the building, came up and signed it and everything else. I have one takeaway from that. This product releases next week, right? That card is not in a pack right now. So what does that tell me? That's probably a redemption, right? Is my guess. Now, I'm not 100%. They could have quickly put it back into production and put it into a pack. However, I think it's probably going to be a redemption. And if it's a redemption, that means that card will not be found in a Breaker's Delight, because the Breaker's Delight boxes, they're all live. And all the other SKUs, retail and hobby, they're redemptions. So if you have the Panthers and you're searching for that card, I wouldn't. And if you're going into group breaks, this is group breaking, right?
Right.
I wouldn't be taking the Panthers in Breaker's Delight boxes. That's just me. That's something that people didn't talk about. It's something I've thought of later, that, the fact that it wasn't already packed out means it's probably going to be a redemption. So I've always, one of the things I've always said about these type of cards is the checklist that comes out. I wish they would say which ones are redemptions and which ones aren't. Back in the day, checklists used to have the little asterisk saying they're redemptions, right? If you tell that, then you know specifically where to search for these cards. But that was a really cool feature. That was one of the highlights of the whole conference, was him showing up and signing it, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess it would have been this past season is when I noticed that they had these patches. So I did some digging and looked into it, and they had been doing it since 2023. Like, rookies had been wearing these patches. And I didn't know what they were going to, like you said, I didn't know what they were going to do with the patches. I thought that, I had no idea. I thought maybe they'd put them in cards. Maybe they put them on unlicensed cards. I didn't really know. There was an NFL memo that was put out in 2023 that apparently the rookies got to keep their jerseys, and with the patches came on the jerseys, and it was a whole part of it. So I don't know at what point that changed. Like, I'm assuming it had to have been something with Topps making the patches. Like, I don't even know really where it stemmed from, but either way,
I thought that they were going to make a completely different one, knowing that this was the NFL's announcement for this patch. I thought Topps would come out with another debut, not the premiere, but they ended up taking this actual patch.
Right. Yeah. So Lauren, I'll ask you this question. I mean, I know that you were talking about before the show some of the WWE debut patches and stuff along those lines. So, there were a ton of announcements of other patches as well. We'll get into the basketball one, but what were kind of your thoughts on the overall the patches that were announced? I mean, you can talk about WWE if you want, or the NFL, I guess, in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I think I remember when they first announced what they were doing with baseball and how exciting that was. That was a huge fervor, and I loved that. I love the excitement that was around it. And I think it's died down a little bit now because it's not as novel. It felt very fresh and exciting, and baseball is also kind of a different breed from football and basketball. I know we'll probably get into it a little bit, but with having an update for the NBA with the patches, I'm kind of weirded out by that. I don't love it. Just because of the way basketball works, it's you kind of look a season ahead, or like a season behind, I guess you would say. You're not, like with baseball, it makes sense because players are being called up, things change. There should be like adaptations. With basketball, it's kind of like one fluid thing. Like, you're there or you're not. And you look forward to them being in the product, the next year. So I don't know. I might be nitpicking on that, but it's kind of weird to me. They're going to have an update. I don't love it. And it's not that's just a nitpicky thing. It's not a big deal. It's just, I don't love it. But yeah, I mean, I think the patches are cool. I think it's just another way to connect with, with your favorite athletes. I mean, we can, last night we were watching SmackDown, and Danhausen, he is very popular on the indies and stuff, and now he's at WWE.
I looked all over for a debut patch. I looked all over his stuff.
I did too.
I couldn't find one. I don't think he had one. I was just like, where is it at?
Well, Brian, because I was looking, I was like, where would it be? Is it on his cape? And we missed it. But Brian said it was on his, I think, left boot, up by his shin, maybe. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to go back and look. I'm gonna have to go
exactly.
back.
I have to go back and look too. But he mentioned it last night that's where it was. So
I almost wore my Danhausen shirt today, by the way.
next time. But yeah, this is another way. I'm connecting with another fan, and we're it's exciting.
Right,
I think it's cool. Alex is gonna go back and look, and I think that's cool. I think it's a cool way to engage people with athletes and the product that they love, and I think it's yeah, I like it. So.
Debut Patchhausen, love it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I mean, Danhausen, I had watched him when he was on AEW, but then I bought some of, he was in, I think it was I forget. I think it was an Upper Deck set. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I bought a couple of his cards, and then he got hurt. And I know we're getting kind of specific into nerdy wrestling here, but like Danhausen is hilarious, and I'm glad that he's in the WWE now, and I'm glad that after his debut, people didn't really like him. Now they seem to love him, so I think that's really great. But I think too to your point, Lauren, about the update, it really almost feels like now they're sort of, I'm hoping next year maybe they just put the patches in the regular Topps Chrome. I think that there's two reasons why they're doing Topps Chrome update for basketball this year. Probably to get Luka a Topps Chrome, debut card, I suppose, because he wasn't in the first Topps Chrome.
Right.
He will, I guess, presumably be in this one, and then also the debut patches. That will be the reason why they're doing Topps update this year for Chrome. But they're putting the patches in the regular Topps Chrome for football. And I have seen, I guess, kind of, again, we're sort of transitioning. There's so many topics here. I want to kind of keep everything all together. But the products that they announced for the NFL, there were 6 products that have been announced so far. And I don't know if that means that there's only going to be the 6. They announced, obviously, Topps Chrome, and then Finest, Signature Class, Topps Chrome Black, Topps Chrome Cosmic, and there was one more that I forget. Oh, Resurgence, which is like an autograph product. So I don't know if it's going to be a shorter release schedule here. And, Alex, I'll ask you this question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Topps taking over the license and making rookies from last year with the draft in like 2 weeks?
So what they said was this year's class is only going to have like that small group of 6 different products. The next year, they're going to have 20 some products. I can't remember the exact number. They said 20 some products. So that's good, right? And I want to quickly go back to the Chrome update and everything with the patches. They're going to have to continue to do this because they're going to be doing Topps Chrome, already in the beginning of the year. There's no way they can get those debut patches into regular Topps Chrome. That's why updates there, right? It's later on in the season while they're all making their debuts. And some of those individuals that go directly to the G League first, they're coming up after, and just like baseball, they might be coming up later on in the year. So also with update, we didn't top off, discuss, but I'll discuss it real quick. They got alternate jerseys. So they'll have a lot of the City Connect jerseys are going to be the actual cards instead of the regular jerseys and stuff. So there are different variations. But again, this is another time frame where Topps is just, I believe throwing a product out there just to make more money and that's where the gimmick of the because it is a gimmick, the debut patches. But so the football wise, with those 6. One of the cool things, with the draft that's coming up that they did announce is they said they're going to have a Topps Now card, literally waiting for after they come off the stage. So it's like as soon as, I don't know if they have a little bug in the ear as soon as it's announced that, they'll be printing right there. They just have everything ready. Or if they have all the players, they might already have all the big players cards with all 32 teams already made. And, and then they'll destroy the other ones and just have that one sitting there waiting for them to sign. So that's going to be pretty cool. But those 6 products, you can see it's a lot of the Chrome materials. Resurgence, they've had before. Signature Series, they've had these with the non-licensed, last year. So we already kind of know what it's probably going to look like and everything. But with the NFL logos and everything else, we know they're going to just look so much better, and I'm excited to see it and see what they can come with, especially with the lineup that they're going to have.
And again, it's maybe it's a social media thing, but I've seen people talk about how this draft class isn't as good, and it's like, what games were you watching? Like, this draft class was awesome last year. Maybe it's just I notice these comments sometimes because I just see them on social media or whatever. But yeah, I think it's exciting that we're getting Topps Chrome, in, I guess it's upcoming this week. So that's really cool. I think, I don't know if you guys had any experience trying to buy any of that Topps Chrome. I saw that the jumbo first day issue boxes that they did for the Dutch auction, those actually sold out they started at 3,200 and they went down a certain amount every couple minutes. But then within 12 minutes, they were already sold out at $2,800, which, Lauren, I'll ask you this question, maybe where, That's pretty. That's a pretty interesting insight into the demand for football. You know, because basketball made it pretty far down the list. Like I was looking back at it, it was $1,700 for basketball, so it dropped almost half the price. Do you think that it is a football demand, or do you think it's maybe more that people saw what happened to the price of those first day issue basketball boxes and they didn't want to miss out on prices for these ones? I guess.
That's a good question. It might be, I mean, it might be a little bit of both and more one than the other. I don't know. You know, that I think that's one thing that is good and bad depending on, you know, what angle you're looking at it from with you know, all these Topps announcements is there is a lot of excitement and a lot of hype and people get invested in it, but then the price gets driven up. And Dutch auction, I don't have a problem with Dutch auctions. I think it's an interesting concept. But you know, I think it links to the aftermarket so much. You know, I think it's a way for the company to get in on like aftermarket pricing. You know, so I don't know. I don't know. It's, you know, it's kind of hard right now to see. I feel like there's, depending on which glasses you have on, if you have your rose colored
Right.
glasses or your like regular ones, is it people passionate about, you know, the product and the new products and the players and collecting, or is it people who are passionate about, you know, making a profit and, you know, breaking and stuff? And I'm not trying to like cast either one, you know, make judgment on either one, but you know, one obviously has a lot more preference to majority of the people, especially the people who are probably watching this, than, you know, others. So I don't know. I think there is a lot of interest, but I think there's also like, I think there is FOMO of like, wow, there's a lot. I mean, with WWE right now, the numbers are kind of like they're in a transitional period right now, and it's kind of astounding. And you know, we've seen things that pop off like crazy just all of a sudden, and not in like a flash in the pan kind of way. Some of these are like sustainable, like they jump and don't come back down.
Right.
So I think it's an interesting time for like all these things coming together, and also how Tops and Fanatics are managing it. And you know, are they, you know, kind of fueling it in a, you know, sustainable, positive way that works for collectors and for people who make a living off of this? Or is it just, you know, we're going to gobble up as much as we can and leave it how we, you know, how we do? So I don't know. It's interesting. That's a great question, because I think that's a really, I think you could come back and ask that at a lot of
Yeah.
different points and have a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the same. I agree with you. I think it's a kind of a combination of both. I mean, I think the pricing for basketball is definitely, you know, that's going to affect the future pricing for these products. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next year they do it and it sells out immediately. Like it doesn't go down in price at all. If they start at 3,200, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't sell out at 3,200. We actually had a good comment here in the chat from, I think one of our co-hosts here, Still Gum. He was talking about that there was no flagship product. So, you know, Alex, I'll ask you this question. Do you think like the difference between Topps Chrome and just regular flagship, do you think that would have been a cool product to start off with here like they did with basketball, or like are you fine with them jumping right into Topps Chrome? Because I think in theory this is going to be a bit of a shorter class in terms of how many products there are coming out.
Yeah, I think because of the shorter time frame, that's the reason why they did that. You know, usually flagship is the first one that's out. It's out for a good bit, right, before they start doing some other stuff. And I believe they just skipped that because of the time frame. Like as soon as the draft happens, I'm almost positive, well, they're going to do the premiere, right? You know, the rookie premiere and stuff. They're going to start pumping out, you know, the card stock for flagship, you know, for the next draft year, for this one coming up. So I'm fine with it, mainly because, you know, everyone was fully trying to think like one of the problems with a lot of sports, and you know, hockey is a prime example. They're always behind. And if Topps would have said, hey, let's make our 20 products, right, of football of 2025 because we want to. I mean, we saw it with Wemby. We saw it with the Wemby rookie stuff. It was like 2 years after he was a rookie.
Right.
He had rookie stuff coming out, right? It would have been, I think the backlog wouldn't have been good and everything. So the one thing that I do think is funny, and I want to tie it all together, with all the different products. There is one product line, one brand that I see across all. It's Royalty, but it's not in football. Royalty, it seems like it's in every single sport. And that was one of the questions I had going to the industry conference, was asking, I'm like, are you going to do this with all of them? Are you going to have 5-star football, soccer? You're going to start making all those, one brands that you have in baseball. Dynasty. They said there's going to be a dynasty football down the road. There's going to be, of course, dynasty basketball and everything else. Are they going to constantly keep making the same products across all lines? And it seems like Royalty is the first one, besides Chrome, of course, right? Chrome and pretty much Finest. It's one of those first products. It's the bigger ones. It's in UFC, it's in WWE, it's in soccer, it's in tennis, it's in all the other sports. So I really liked seeing that announcement. But back to football, I think having these quick six and how long they've been actually. Hopefully they were making them all at the same time. So when these players were sitting down signing, they were signing all the different ones. I know a few times that I've been at shows and I've been in the back rooms where I've been able to be around the players signing the cards. Like they were multiple different ones, different products that were there. It was pretty cool to see. And then to tie again back to everyone's talking about tops. When's the last time you heard anyone talk about the unlicensed basketball that's coming out from Panini? Right. It's literally getting ready to come out. No one's talking about that right now at all. And so Topps is, done enough, I believe, that's out there with, marketing and everything else and everything that they're doing, or Panini's just not doing enough that, their stuff's coming. There's the only RPAs that are going to be out there for VJ Etchko, one of the top rookies.
Right. Exactly.
And, and those players. So I find that pretty interesting.
Yeah. So we're gonna actually take a quick little jump into. I believe we got John and Jason actually I think they're at the Strongsville show. Is that right, guys? What's up? How we doing?
Sideways. We cannot hear you at all, so apologies. But we are here live at Strongsville. Wanted to say hi. It's a hopping show this weekend. All kinds of people. We had the YouTube gathering last night. Well over 100 people were there. For Collectors is doing our trade night tonight, and we are expecting a big crowd. It's a great show here. So
big show, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for letting us jump on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
This, but we said, hey, let's jump on the hobby hotline and talk for a minute. So we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Have a good one. Thanks for jumping in, guys. Have a good show.
Saying hi.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we had John and Jason. They were in an alternate universe that was in the wrong. That was vertical rather than horizontal. There, glad they could jump in there. Obviously, For Collectors, we're here on their YouTube channel. Always gracious hosts here for our show every Saturday. Definitely some cool stuff. If you're at the Strongsville show, check that out. Say hi to everybody. The shows like that, the Strongsville show, they're always exciting to go to. Definitely fun, especially, after with some of the news, I'm sure the show is probably buzzing there. And so, yeah, we'll jump back into, I think the thing that you were talking about, Alex, is something that I've been thinking about. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to angle a video, something here, because I think the unlicensed Panini stuff is going to do much better than I think people realize, because I think that Panini has done such a good job with basketball. And this is sort of I'm kind of brainstorming a little bit here and spitballing, but I feel like Panini's basketball products licensed have been a little bit better than Topps's baseball products potentially. So when you shift that over to an unlicensed environment, that's why I think maybe the Panini baseball maybe doesn't do as well compared to Topps baseball, and then the Topps basketball maybe didn't hit as hard as maybe some people were expecting versus the licensed or unlicensed stuff. Again, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, I think you kind of see what I'm saying.
I think it goes off the optics of where the cards look. Right. I'll be the first one to say it. The Topps unlicensed basketball looked like total garbage.
It did, yeah. It didn't look.
Especially the Finest was brutal. Yeah, it was brutal looking. But I also had a theory saying they did that on purpose to make their licensed basketball look better. That's what I'm putting out there. So,
yeah,
but Panini has also been doing unlicensed sports for a long time now. So they've kind of learned. They know the right angles to put the players and everything else and stuff like that. And if you look at the unlicensed basketball that's coming out, there's a lot of holding the basketballs in front because of all the logos for the basketballs right here, right? And everything else. So I think that they've learned, they've actually been watching comments and hearing people talk about it, and their production team or their creative team is putting together these designs off of what people are saying of them. It's like, we're going to still go this route. But the thing we didn't hear, the only thing we haven't heard is any unlicensed football. None, right? None at all. Right? Are they going? I know that's one question everyone's going to have. They of course lost the NFLPA rights and stuff, and that's why they didn't have any active players in those last few products. But we've seen unlicensed basketball stuff coming up, but they haven't announced anything unlicensed football. So I don't even know if that's going to happen. But I think it's the optics aspect that they've actually learned, from other crappy looking ones to make theirs look better. So say Dynasty basketball, and then that was one of the big news everyone talked about. I'll tie this in real quick. NBA hoops, the NBA hoops brand. Okay, everyone was like in shock of like, how are they making NBA hoops cards when they were just with Panini? Well, the NBA license actually own the NBA hoops product. So whoever has the NBA license has that product, and that's why they're able to make it. I literally, when we were talking this, I was talking to someone actually from Bleaker Trading right before this was announced when it came on the stage. And I was like, yeah, whoever has the NBA lights has the cards. And then they quickly set it on stage. So that it was funny. Those mock-ups and the stuff got actually announced from Topps, like the pictures.
Yep.
A day before this came on the stage.
That's what I saw. I saw those images and I was like, what the heck is this? Like I was like, okay, somebody just like Photoshopped the images. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I guess.
Well,
and I mean, I think
these days with AI, it's like really, really hard.
Well, yeah, that's right. Right. Exactly. and I'll just one other point about the unlicensed Panini stuff. I think with the NBA and, potentially NFL as well, the jersey colors are much more iconic in the NBA than they are in the MLB, because just the logo placement on the jerseys are much easier to avoid than it is for baseball, because with baseball you got it across the chest, you got it on the helmet. With basketball, all you got is one logo on the jersey somewhere. And the colors that are used on those jerseys, like if you told me, like, just, even off the top of your head, if I were to say, I'm thinking of a team that's purple and gold, everyone's going to say Lakers. I'm thinking of a team that's green and white, everyone's going to say Celtics. If you were to say, I'm thinking of a team that has like gray and red, like that could be 10 different teams in the MLB. So I think that also translates better to unlicensed product. I mean, just from what I've seen, at least so far, like I think the way that they can do it will be very cool. And so, Lauren, sorry, I think me and Alex have been going off on a little bit of a tangent here.
I'm listening. Yeah.
I'll give you some time here. What were your thoughts on the maybe it's hoops, maybe it's any of the NBA stuff that came out this week with more products being announced?
Well, I can't remember where I saw it, but I'm 99.999% sure it was Alex who said that NBA hoops, I'm sure I read it somewhere and it was from Alex, because that was fascinating. That was interesting to me that that's a through line. That's really cool that NBA has that. Like, that's a really cool thing. I think that's significant to know. I think that's a really cool little factoid and a great thing for like the through line of NBA products. In talking about the unlicensed stuff, I do agree with you. Like, that's why I was just kind of listening, because I agree with what both of you are saying, which is Panini does seem to usually be a little bit more particular about the photos that they choose for their unlicensed stuff. And I was looking because I thought I had a spare stack of Magic players from the Topps basketball Chrome. It was ugly. The pictures were like inconsistent. Like, some of them were studio shots. It was very weird, like the way that they did it. It did seem a little bit kind of like here damn kind of situation, we got to get our foot in the water, so let's just like toss this out here. And so I mean, I was quiet because I was just listening to you guys and thinking, because it's a really interesting conversation. We are at an interesting point where, we're being bombarded with all this top stuff, but like, Panini's not gone. Panini's still here.
Right.
They're still doing stuff. And, you know I've talked a lot about like they have the WNBA license and they have, they have a lot of women's sports. I think they really should go in hard on that. But yeah, they can still make unlicensed products and they can still contend with Topps and Fanatics, maybe not to the extent that they would like, but like they're still, they're not dead on arrival. They're still there. They're still, and Topps is really good at their marketing. They are. And I think that that's something that, like we saw with the National, over the last couple of years, they really stepped it up last year. They really tried to pursue, digital marketing. And I think that that's important. I think you can't ignore that at this point in the game. Otherwise, you will not survive it. And so I think Panini really needs to step that aspect up. And I think, I'm not saying they have to do like what Fanatics and Topps do, but like I remember something happened, some sporting event, I can't even remember, but I was looking at Panini like to see like, are they doing a Panini Instant? What's going on? And they like just didn't post. They weren't even posting in like their stories, or like they're not following along with the narrative of the sports that they do have. And they have to contend with that, and they have to drive the interest. So yeah, it's interesting. I think it's an interesting aspect, and it'll be great to see how Panini decides to react, if they do decide to just kind of keep going at their stagnant pace, or if they are going to contend, to some extent with Topps.
So going off the picture you have on there, Adam, I did want to put a little tidbit out there that a lot of people actually don't know. The Bowman product that's coming out, right? It's going to have both college and, for Bowman First and the rookies in it. It's a product they've already shown previews for, and they're going to have all the different stuff. There's one problem in there. Leaf owns the rights to the Bruiser Brothers. They will not have any Bowman cards. One of the top people from the draft will not have any Bowman cards. And a lot of people, those exclusive rights to these players, Leaf goes out and gets them earlier, are going to keep them out of this type of product. So it'll be very interesting to see. I know we've seen that in the past, right? Damian Lillard right off the bat, and Donovan Mitchell, of course, Jordan and other individuals, right, are, exclusive to one brand, and they're not in all the other stuff. He is one of the biggest players that are coming out in the draft, and he's not even going to be in there.
Yeah. Bowman, I think, will be cool because it's the first time we're going to see NBA and then men's and women's college all within one product. I don't know. It's not really a worry because I think Topps will figure it out. But like, I think that the Bowman product for baseball works because the players are wearing their pro uniforms. I think that the Bowman product for college worked because they were in their college uniforms and it wasn't this combination of NBA and college players. And so I don't know. I'm kind of torn on if I like the combination. I think it's cool to include both of those, like all three of those groups of players into one product. But I don't know. I wish that they would almost do like a secondary. I wish they would just do it like how they do it with baseball, like do a Bowman college product and then do like a Bowman Chrome or a Bowman, some other type of Bowman where you can include the college players, but then also include the pro players. I wish there was maybe some sort of separation there. And actually, I sort of kind of along the similar topic. I want to touch on something Lauren said. I think that Panini needs to lean into more of their segmentation of their sports. They also just got the the NWSL license, the Women's Soccer League, which is, not necessarily a newer league. I think it was formed in 2012, but over the past 4 or 5 seasons, that's where we've seen a lot of the growth. And Parkside Cards, I believe, was the company that made those cards before. So Panini just got the license for them, and now they have the license, obviously, for WNBA, and there's soccer with the World Cup coming up. I just think that within the sports card industry, not every product has to be for everyone. So I think figuring out a way to segment and give the collectors of the sport what they want and not try and make every product the same, I think is going to be very important I think that's going to be very important for Panini because they have, the WNBA, they just signed the new collective bargaining agreement. So they're not going to go into a lockout, or they were kind of in a lockout, but not really because the season hasn't started. But I do think that overall, Panini just needs to segment, and I don't know, or maybe not. I guess it's maybe kind of a 50-50 there of whether they should or shouldn't. But in my opinion, that's just sort of how I think Panini should be moving forward with some of their products, like with the licenses that they have. They you know, we can't dwell on losing the licenses because there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like they just got to figure out how to move forward with. And again, WNBA, NWSL, those are very popular. And then even the World Cup, that's like, I haven't seen as much promotion about these World Cup stickers or the World Cup Prism as much as I would like. And those are, in my opinion, this is the most important product. The World Cup Prism product is the most important product for them since losing the licenses in the last decade. So I don't know. And maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I don't know. I still think that it's very important. So I guess
I'm wondering if it's because of the fact they might not have a lot of the signers, right? You know, everyone pushes towards, you know, those big players and stuff. I'm wondering if they haven't been pushing a lot because they know Topps has them all. And, you know, to go back to Abel in Vegas's comment, I don't know if it's just exclusive autos or the actual whole rights for the Boozer brothers. So don't quote me on that, but I know for a fact the autos 100%. They will not have. I don't know if it's actually just all cards, period. But
yeah, like I don't know if it's like a Arch Manning situation where there's no Arch Manning Topps cards, where it's like fully the full license of Arch Manning is not in Topps. It's only in Panini. And I think same with Dylan Raiola, I think his name is, the guy that tries to mimic Patrick Mahomes. I think he isn't in any top. I think he might actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he might have one Topps card, but not like as of recently. But Arch Manning, I know, doesn't have any Topps cards, only has Panini. So, you know, maybe it's the same thing. Like maybe, I don't know. I mean, Leaf, I don't know how Topps and Panini really let that slip through the cracks. Like those are two of, you know, he's going to be the number one pick. So it's like, I don't know how you miss almost getting the number one pick here.
It's happened over so many years, back to back to back. You know, these guys go exclusive with one. So, So yeah. But, you know, I don't know if you had it, you know, on your stuff to look up, but one of the biggest things, and I know Lauren really loves this too, is the entertainment section of Topps, right? The announcement for, you know, Star Wars and Disney and all the other stuff that they're having. There is so much stuff that they are bringing out over the next year that they talk about. It is. You don't want to bring up your search history.
There's fine there, but
but like you know, the 50th year of Star Wars is next year, right? You know, and one of the biggest things that I thought was one of the coolest things, and in one of the Topps products will be actual film cells from the original Star Wars, the original first movie, the actual film cell signed, you know, by Harrison Ford. Well, you know, signature, whatever. Those are true 101s. That is fun. That's incredible, honestly. Like that is history right there. But some of the stuff with Disney and everything else, Disney Channel autographs. I know a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah,
right. There's so many individuals, and again, we're getting into the realm of a lot of these characters. Jesse came out. It's really funny is. Candace Parker was in the building. She was doing some stuff over there, and he walked right past her. I'm just like, yeah, that's always nice. He was looking like Buzz Lightyear walking by Candace Parker.
I mean, I love the dedication there from Jesse, because I think he has like a super viral video of him wearing the Buzz Lightyear outfit, opening up Topps Chrome. Oh yeah, because he pulled the one of one Walt Disney autograph from this past year, and it was like during Halloween, or it was during something where he was wearing the Buzz Lightyear uniform. So I love the dedication from him.
He needed to wait for the adult side costume to come out and not just go full force into the kid size, but But he did a really good job being on the stage, helping moderate the entertainment section, because you know he does a lot of that. But the Disney Channel autographs did hit a lot of people in the crowd because they're the age they watched a lot of those Disney Channel type of shows and everything else, right? You know, a lot of it's not going to hit all the older individuals, but the stuff that they're doing with Disney and Marvel and WWE is just incredible.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that was when I saw the Disney Channel, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, I love the, you know, I have like a Rizzler autograph. I love the like random pop culture, cards that come out. And Leaf, actually, you know, we were speaking about Leaf earlier. They, I think, have done the best job out of anybody coming out with the most like relevant pop culture people that are going on right now. So I think this Disney Disney Channel product, I think, is going to be very cool. You know, they have Vanessa Hutchinson, Demi Lovato, Raven Simone, and then more. Those are the names that they have on there. So I'll be interested to see, you know, who else they have on that, because that's definitely
one of the things I've told Tops. I've actually talked to, you know, a couple individuals. How they haven't came out with their own Pop Century product is mind-boggling to me. The amount of people that they do stuff with, and everything else, from actors, from artists, and everything else. Like, how do they not have their own Pop Century type of product? Is just...
yeah, right, totally. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's just the mixing of popular culture and cards is kind of in full effect right now, but I think it can continue to get bigger. I mean, we see a lot of, like, you know, Dune, for example. I mean, I'm a big Dune. I don't know if you can see the Dune books in the back, but I'm a big Dune head, I guess you could call me. But so I'm excited for the movie. And then Topps came out with a product, and I thought that was really cool. And they're doing that with a lot of, you know, all the Disney stuff they're doing, I think, is pretty impressive. Again, another huge IP that they have acquired. And then the other, you know, big IP that they acquired in this past year, that exciting that they're going to be bringing this back, WWE. And they announced that WWE and NFL, and I don't remember if there were any other buybacks they announced at the show, but WWE being one, that's very exciting, that you can return these cards of the people who are going to be in the title matches at WrestleMania. And then for the NFL, it's going to be Matthew Stafford, which is interesting. You know, Alex, we were talking about this before the show, and you brought up, like, this is kind of the first time that they have done this buyback where we already know who's going to be the buyback, who's going to be the athlete. So, you know, I'll kick it to you first, Alex. Here, like, what were your thoughts on all the buyback stuff, and, you know, just kind of overall thoughts on it, I guess, in general?
I've always loved this. I always loved it because it's giving, you know, money back to the hobby shops, right? It's getting people to bring stuff into their LCSs. You know, a lot of people base cards thrown to the side, right? It is re-rolling those cards, because a lot of times these buybacks, they're going and they're stamped, and there's it's really rare. I haven't seen any of the auto buybacks, you know, in the products and stuff and everything else. But for WWE, right, maybe it gets someone that had fun opening Chrome and gets them to watch WrestleMania, because you know, the first hour of WrestleMania next week on both nights is on ESPN and ESPN2 before you have to have the actual, you know, ESPN Plus. Brock Lesnar's fight is actually on ESPN2, I believe, in that first hour. So, so you didn't watch it free if you had cable. But I love it. Like I said, it brings money back to the LCS's hands, and it brings people coming and talking and ripping, and you know, and the actual aspect of not knowing who keeps more cards. Now, like the WWE, it's only 4 cards. NBA, NFL, MLB, it's like you're keeping everything right now, because you don't know who, you know, it is. Now, NBA is a little closer because you can kind of see the odds. You can kind of pick out 3. And the NFL, of course, like we said, Stafford was already the MVP when this came out, but this is a one-off. Going forward, it will be different, right? It's going to be when Chrome comes out, we're not going to know. So I've always loved it, and it's the lifelong question. Everyone out there can answer it, and you guys can answer it too. If you say you have a CM Punk and he wins, numbered to 99, or even numbered to 50, that's a $200 buyback credit. Are you getting the buyback, or are you getting the 200? Are you trying to sell it on eBay?
Lauren, I'll let you answer that first.
Depends on what the market is saying, honestly. Like, because we have had that discussion. Brian has, like, done the math, and he's like, I'm gonna buy more cards anyway. So do I want the cash, or do I want the credit? And it's usually, I want the credit. So, like, usually if we, have those cards, depending on where it's at, because end of the day, like, what's gonna get us more cards? Like, that's the question. If eBay is gonna get us more cash, whatever. But, like, I love the buyback. I think it's great. I agree with both of you that it's an incredible way to engage so many different elements of the hobby. And it's I'm gonna go where I can get more cards. Like, that's the bottom line.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest. I bought some some SGA cards on eBay. Like if you can find them for like $15, that's totally worth it. Cause you're essentially, I think the odds for him to win MVP are like minus 50,000 or something like that. So it's like, he's basically guaranteed to win MVP unless I don't even know if there's necessarily a way that he wouldn't win MVP, but like, right, exactly. So like if you have those cards, you essentially you have $20 in store credit. So like I was buying them for like $15 a piece just to get like an extra 5. Like I think I bought like 5 or 6 of them just so that way, you know, if I wanted to go to a hobby shop, I could get like $100 essentially. Yeah. So
someone sold me 2 X Fractors for $30.
Yeah, 2. I mean that's great. That's a great deal.
That's $80, and I'm not turning these in to get the blues.
Yeah,
because it'll be the same price. It's going to be the same exact price. So
yeah, and so I mean, if you're like at a show or you're at the Strongsville show or any of the or any show just in general, I think if you go to these dollar boxes, there's probably a decent shot you're going to be able to find maybe 2 or 3 of these cards because like people don't, you know, some people follow pretty closely what's going on in social media, but like if you're a store owner or you're somebody who's opening and ripping packs and you just have a bunch of cards, like, you know, sure, maybe you know that SGA is going to have this MVP buyback, but some people are just going to say whatever, just put it in the dollar box. Who cares? So, but if you find them in dollar boxes, they're essentially worth $20. So, it's a good way to, you know, I think that I wish Topps would expand it to, you know, potentially all of the award winners. I mean, for basketball and maybe football too. Like, I just think figuring out a way to get more money back into collectors' hands is ultimately what I would like companies to try and do more of. And especially with like what a box looks like nowadays compared to what it even looked like 5 or 6 years ago. Like 5 or 6 years ago, you could go and you'd buy a $20 or $25 hot blaster box and you could sell all the cards in the box and almost make all your money back. Nowadays, it's a little bit tougher. So if there were a way to have 3 or 4 cards that were guaranteed to be $20, that's something that I would like them to do. So yeah, expanding this is my, I don't know if Topps is listening. That's my suggestion, is figuring out a way to expand this. And I know that they've done it with like the red Bowman logo, but it's like, you know, that's, again, you're making a card that's different from a base card, so it almost defeats the purpose a little bit, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it is. I think it's cool that Topps does this, and I'm excited to see if they do any type of expansion or if they just keep going. Like I said, I just want them to be able to get more money back into collectors' hands, or even if it's store credit, get more cards into their hands. I mean, there's people who probably have an SGA card. They don't even realize that they've got $20. They can just go and, you know, exchange it for whatever they want at a store. I think it's really cool.
You did segue kind of to something that we didn't talk about or whatever, the red rookie redemption. It's going to be for basketball, right? However, like this, I actually have to send this in, this Drake Baldwin. I actually pulled it from a logo fractor box, which, by the way, this is the first time ever there was these type of parallels in any type of logo fractor box. Because remember, before they were all just in the base packs, they were just base. They were whatever. So you only cared about the other stuff in the mega boxes. The mega boxes. But basketball in the Bowman product are going to have the rookie red redemption also, but instead of $100 for fan cash, it's $200. Right, it started off 200 instead of 100. That was some news that came out for that. And again, it's the same type of concept. And I have a feeling though the basketball ones, more people will hold on to it if Cooper Flagg ends up winning, right? Because between him and Concanupple, Cooper Flagg has a better chance probably to win MVP than Drake Baldwin does. Right. So, you know, that's where the whole aspect of just holding on, and then it's a $200 card. Then, you know, if he wins a second MVP, it's an $800 card. And if somehow 20 years from now he's in the Hall of Fame, then it's a $1,000 fan cash card. I honestly don't like the holding until Hall of Fame, because you don't know if this program is going to be around in 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so that aspect, I'm just like, I'm getting it out if I would have any, quick, fast, in a hurry. But to your point, I think what you're talking about, you know, with having more different cards in there for the buyback and everything, it's kind of like the gold logo, man, and the gold NFL shields, you know, that are going to be in the products that the MVPs, the defensive player of the year, the rookie of the year, they all wear on their uniforms. Kind of would be under that same type of concept.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I mean, I guess we'll kind of quickly touch on this topic as we're kind of wrapping things up here.
James, no. So he said it's not. I think it's the end of June. You have to turn them in by.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have any of those, those were the red logo cards, right?
Yeah, Red Rookie Redemption.
Okay. Yeah. And then these loaf of bread will be $60 in 15 years. So. Yeah, so I mean, we'll kind of touch on this a little bit. I mean, I was not necessarily a huge fan of this news. So Fanatics is finally rolling out their credit card that they are going to be, there's going to be rewards for probably buying stuff with Fanatics or sports cards. I'll go around I'll go around the horn here first, and then I'll give my thoughts on it. Alex, if you saw this, what were your kind of initial thoughts when they rolled this out?
Yeah, so it was something that everyone probably guessed was going to eventually happen, right? A lot of people use credit cards in this industry for buying stuff and everything, especially the hobby shops. This type of program is kind of almost geared towards the hobby shops more than it is the actual breakers, because now they can get this extremely big credit card that they can gain points and everything else on, stuff to come back to their shop or whatever. But for me, I mean, if it all comes down to, like, can you budget your own money? Everyone, individuals that can get the credit card are an adult. Like in today's world, yes, the gambling aspect and everything else is out there, and people might not be able to manage their money. It's gonna be hard. If you know how to do it, it's fine. Like, I have an Amex card. I actually have two. One of them I'm going to close, and I'm just going to get that one. I'm just replacing one card with the other. And I'm like, why not use that for those perks if I'm going to do it anyways? I have a separate account that I do all my card stuff with, and why not just put it through there and get some points, get some perks and stuff. So I do like the fact that that you can design them to have your specific card. Any of the Topps cards, they're going to have a whole bunch of logos that you can put on there. You can get your favorite card. You can have this card as your actual credit card. That'd be pretty cool. But it also can be bad, because then you can also think it's just a base card and throw it out someday.
Toss it in a dollar box or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren, same question here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Alex, because we've all said, we discussed it a little bit briefly before we got on air, and Alex made a good point, an important point, with the framing of, which I did not consider. I just saw it with, like, clear eyes. This was an industry, experience for, Fanatics and Topps. Like Alex said, it was networking. It was, a way to engage the business side of this. And if you do have a shop, it probably does make sense to have this card. When I initially saw it, I was looking at it as like any old collector on the street. That seems not great. But if you are in this business and this is what you do, I can understand it working as, like, your business card. I think it's a slippery slope when you look at it outside of that frame. And that's where my initial knee-jerk reaction came from, was it's open to everybody, what I had questions, like, what's the limit? What's the standard? What's, whatever. But considering it as a business card for, like, LCS or, whatever, I can see the benefits there. That does make sense to me. But, like, I think Mad City Bruce said it, like in college, don't fall for the free shirt if you sign for a credit card. Like, some of the bells and whistles might be appealing, but if you're not, like, Alex said, if you're not great with managing your money, or you're kind of doing this thinking like, oh, I can, be a gymnast in the way that I can, like, validate these purchases in this card.
Right.
Like, you can't bend over backwards for that stuff. That's a slippery slope. And, it can, I know we all, kind of, are disparaging about gambling and how the hobby can be gambling. And it did kind of feel a little bit like leaning into that aspect. But I can see now, like, it can be beneficial, I'm sure, for businesses, but it depends on how they market this. It depends on how they approach it and how they, I don't know. It is just depending on the framing. I mean, because now I'm, like, conflicted about how to, like, address it, but it does just depend on how responsible, I guess, Fanatics feels about marketing this, and do they want to have the breadth, or do they want to have, the focus? So I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. do not buy sports cards with a credit card if you are not paying the credit card off in full at the end of the month. I have definitely fallen into the trap of financial risk where I have a card that I'm paying off now that I got because it was like, oh, you're going to get all these points. And then in the long run, all the points are not worth what you ended up paying in interest on the card. So from a business perspective, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Like if you're getting, if you are a business using this card and you're getting rewards based on business purchases and there's business goals that you're using the card for, I think it's great. If you're a collector who is trying to get a free jersey by spending $1,000 every month, I don't know if that's exactly the right move. I wouldn't, I'm not going to pigeonhole everybody in the sports card industry as financially irresponsible. But it is both of you guys are saying it's a very slippery slope. I mean, I think it's very easy to see a credit limit of whatever you have and say, oh, I'll just, I'll buy something here, buy something there. And then you get to the end of the month and you spent a couple $1,000s. You didn't even realize it. So it's like, I think it's dangerous for people who are not financially responsible. If you are not a business or you are not someone who pays off your credit cards in full, I probably wouldn't suggest buying it. In my opinion, I wouldn't suggest buying any type of sports card thing with a credit card just because, from my own experience, and maybe my own experience is going to be different than others. But that was sort of my thoughts. And I mean, and this was something that we had known was coming out for a while. I think they're finally rolling it out. So, I don't know, maybe if my Fanatics credit card comes in the mail next week, maybe I'll be saying a different tune on the next episode of Hobby Hotline. I'd be like, guys, you got to use my promo code.
And use code.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if you can manage your money, that's great. And that's what you can use it for that, then you should get it. But like, if you are irresponsible, like myself, don't get it. Like, that's just my, my thoughts on it in general. Wow, I guess we are kind of coming up on the hour here. I didn't even realize how close we were. So I'll go back around the horn one more time. Give yourself a shout out. Let everybody know where they can find you. Let them know anything you got coming up. Alex, we'll start with you. What you got going on this week? Anything you want to give a shout out to? Give yourself the self promotion you deserve.
Yep, I'm going to be everywhere over the next 2 weeks. Army ATC 22 on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere you see me. I'll be at WrestleMania. I'll be in Vegas. I'm flying out Wednesday. I'm going to there till Monday. Nice. Going to be doing everything WWE World. I'm going to be handing out packs. I'm going to have a great time. I'm sponsored by a few people, so I'm going to be having a really good time. The week after that, NFL Draft, eBay Live. I'm going to be doing some stuff with a couple individuals during the draft. The actual draftees are going to be coming on stage after they're drafted and doing some stuff on eBay Live. So shout out to that. So I'm going to be all over the place having fun, and I can't wait to share the world.
Absolutely. And Lauren, basically same question with you. Let everybody know where they can find all the amazing content that you're putting out as well.
Yeah, Instagram is the main one. I have been on a bit of a sabbatical, but I am trying to get back in. Hobby Hotline has kind of been my tether that I really enjoy. And I'm trying to get back into it and post more and interact more and share more because I do love this hobby and it is great. We are also heading to Vegas next week. So Alex, you'll have to try and avoid me because I am going to seek you out. But yeah, it's, I think we're also, we're heading into, spring, summertime and nationals coming up. And I think this was a great conversation today. I really enjoyed chatting with you guys. The chat was great too. And I think that sometimes I come on the show and I'm like, oh, this is a bleak place, but in general, not here. But like, this was a really great conversation. I think the hobby's in a good position. I think, the conversations happening are great. And I will scroll on TikTok and I'll randomly hear Adam's voice and I'm like, or I'll hear it from the other room when Brian's watching. I'm like, oh, there he is. Or Alex. But usually it's Adam and I'm like, oh, Adam's at it again. But I think this is I just want to say thanks, guys, because this was a really good show and a really good time. And I love it here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the, thanks for watching the video. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so I mean, for me, I like to make sure I end all these shows by, people are going to come and go in this hobby. There's going to be new people that come into the hobby and they're going to ask questions. People are going to come into the hobby the same way that all of us have.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Well, I was gonna say that afterwards. But okay, so I'll start with that. So the handle is there on stream. The handle's there on stream. You TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. I think, I don't know. I've kind of been posting some videos there. It hasn't really been going very well, but Snapchat Spotlight. But TikTok is kind of the main place, and then Instagram, and then also Sports Cards Nonsense on their YouTube channel. I'm doing a ton of videos for them. I think that's for the most part, those are all the good places you can find, or all the videos that I'm making, at least. And then here we'll be back on not me, but someone will be here hosting on the For Collectors YouTube channel next week. But yep, like I said, I always try to end the shows before Alex rudely interrupted me.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. But so everybody, people are coming into this industry all the time. New people, people who are just getting started, old people who are getting back into it. Not old as in age, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. They're going to have questions, and they're going to have questions the same way that all of us had questions when we first got into the industry. So if you can help out a new collector with any questions, just help them, answer their question kindly, because it's confusing. We all know this industry is confusing. So just help out the new collectors, help them become a lifelong collector the way that we all are lifelong collectors, because we all know how fun it is and how confusing it can be. So help out your fellow collectors. Make sure you are telling them to go watch the For Collectors YouTube channel as well for Hobby Hotline every single week. And like I said, we'll be back here Saturday. Like I said, I forget exactly who's hosting, but someone else will be hosting. It'll be a new around the horn worth of guest hosts as well. Thank you all for watching, and we'll come back here next Saturday, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Deuces.